Hello and welcome. This is Marcus. I want to show you the latest version of Eldiron, my creator for classical RPGs. This is version 0.8.22, which I just released. You can download it now. And it has some new features, especially the new screens and widgets feature, which I will go over in a moment. And I created an example, a 2D example you see here. It's called Hideout. And it has a lot of interactive elements on the map, characters and items. So I will describe how all this works. Um, this is a 2D example, but all the behavioral stuff is the same as in 3D. So I try to make a new release every 2 weeks now, and for the next release, I will do a 3D example and go over that then in the next video. So here in the middle of the editor, you see the preview of the 2D map, the Hideout 2D example. This is a preview. You see the characters and items, they have placeholder icons. These get instantiated during startup of the server. Mostly in 2D, you use the rec tool because that allows you to paint with tiles like in any other tile editor too. So you can just select a tile and, for example, I have a small error here in the map. I just paint over it with a tile. So this is a preview. When you start the server, the icons get replaced, characters like the orc, they start moving, so it's executing. You can still work with it like in a normal editor while it's running, but the server is running, it doesn't matter. You can just edit it and do whatever you want. But this is not how the user would see the map. The user would see the screen, the current screen, and its widgets. And this is what I added in this version. When we go to the game tool, you see the game as the user would see it, with the screen, the currently active screen and its widgets, like the move buttons here, and here the text widget, and here are messages widget. So how to do that is you go to the screens area here, and you can add delete screens, and you can use your normal line def and sector tools to create geometry. Polygons, which are sectors, are in the screen just widgets. So you can select here the tiles for the normal and active roles for buttons. You use the data tool to assign the information about what the widget should do. So for example, here for the text tool, we have like the role is text. You have the text to display with this kind of player dot annotation for replacing the text, substituting text. And then we have the font size spacing, the color. And the same for all the other buttons, like here for the move forward button, it's just like the role is a button, and it the action is forward. And the same for all the other things. Messages is like a messages role with the font and the font size for the messages. And I will explain that in detail more when it comes up during the examples. Yeah, in general, that's it. You have the config tool, which describes what's screen to start with. So we have the game screen here. So when you start the server, it will show the game screen. In a normal game, you would probably show some intro, character creation, and this kind of thing. But here we just go directly to the game screen. And you can also define the start region. Okay, let's get started with the example itself, the hideout example. So this is Moody, the character. He comes back from his adventure and he lost all his money. So he needs to address the item, retrieve the item from his treasury here, which is behind the locked gate. But he sees that the key is missing, and he has an orc in his garden, and probably that orc has the key. And then there is also a door which is opening automatically and a sign with a message. So I will go over how all this is done here in this example. Let's start the server. And the first thing, I mean, maybe you remember about player creation and item creation. You create characters and items here in their section, and a player, it has in the code tool, you can edit its script, and it has events. These are the events which happen on the server, which is interactive interaction with other elements on the map. And this is user events which are actually executed on the client side and describe what the describe the action which should be executed for this um, for the user input. And for example, when the user presses W, it executes the forward action. And now when we remember the button, the forward button, it has the same role, I mean the same action. The forward button has a forward action associated with it. That means the system knows this is the same. So when we go here and press W, the forward button is executed, I mean activated. And when I click it on it, it also moves the player forward. So this is how user input is translated into actions which are executed on the server, either via the user events for key press events or via widgets on the current screen. Okay, I should not have stopped this. Let's just go to the first interactive element here, which is the sign. So we click on the sign and says, okay, you're too far away. All right, so we go closer to the sign. It says home of Moody. Now we bump into the sign and it also says home of Moody. All right, so let's go to the map, code tool, item, sign. And here we have the code for the sign item. And what is actually happening when somebody bumps into the sign, bumped by entity, I send a message to the user that is, the value is and the character ID which bumped into it and the home of Moody message. So when I click on it, I actually get in value a dictionary which describes, which has several items. For example, the distance from the player which clicked on it, and if the distance is too large, I send a message to the user again, you are too far away. And this is a warning category. And otherwise, I just send the same message as here with the event home of Moody. This is interesting here to category. So if you go back to the screen and select the messages item and go to the data tool, we see that role is messages, and it has it defines the warning color for the category, for the warning category, and this defines the default color. So the default color is used for every message which has no category. And you can just use any category text, and the system will look up, does it have a category? And there's an entry here, a color entry for that category. And if yes, it will use that color. So you can define as many categories and colors as you like for your game. One more thing I want to say about the different events here is that it also targets different play styles. For example, when you have you want to do a game for a TV and you have only left, right, top, down buttons, you would use the bump by entity and all the other bump events to create the gameplay, because that's all you have. You don't have any other kind of interactions. But if you do a game for like say a phone or desktop, you would like to touch events, you would like to click on things. This is where you use the click events. And you can actually disable different event sorts. So for example, you can have the same game running on the TV and it only works, and it only uses the bumped events. And then you disable these events and distribute the game for the mobile phone, and then only use clicked events. So that, for this example, I will just use all events possible to just demonstrate how to use them. Okay, let's go to the next interactive item, which is the door. So when you bump into the door, you see it opens, and then after 2 seconds it closes again. And when you're over the door, it does not close. It waits until you go and it closes. So how is that done? When you go to the door, you see that if it's bumped, you bump into it, it sets the visible attribute to false and blocking to false. That means there's no blocking entry anymore and for this item. And it notifies in 2 seconds closed door. All right. So the closed door event is sent, and then you check it, and you check how many entities are in radius of the current item. And when the array is 0, the length of the array is 0, there are no other entities in the current radius of the item. Then you set uh, the visible and blocking attributes to 2 again. And if there is somebody at that radius, you just resend the closed door event and try again in 2 seconds if you can close it again. It's very easy mechanism to use doors. You can of course also just click on it and it would open the same as with the gate. Okay, now let's try the gate up here. You go over it and it says you need a golden key to open it. Okay, let's have a look at the gate source code. And when it's bumped by entity, it says inventory items of value, which has the character ID, and golden key. That means it returns a list of inventory items of this character, which bumped into this item. And if it's larger than 0 for golden key, it does the same as the door. Visible blocking, false, notify closed gate. This golden key is like a filter. If you would enter to an empty string here, it would return all items of this character. But that's not what you want. You want to see how many golden keys does this character have in his inventory. And if larger than 0, you open the gate. And otherwise, if he does not have that item, you send him a message, you need the golden key with the warning category. And then on the close gate event, we close the gate again. Okay, it's time to get the golden key from the orc. Let's start the game and go and kill him. I mean, there are actually several mechanisms here going on for the orc, which you don't really use in this example. So when we go to him and we bump into him, we just kill him automatically. And when we go to the key, we take the key. Okay, let's break this down. There are several things going on here. First, we go to the org, and there is on startup, we do a random walk in sector with a given speed, maximum distance, and a random wait time between walks. And this actually makes random walk in sector makes the org walk randomly in this sector here. And another thing we do is set a proximity warning when somebody comes within 4 tiles of him. And we add an item, golden key, which is the golden key. And the other event is, okay, the proximity warning is, we don't really use it. He gets a proximity warning when we come close, but I don't want to auto-attack the player because it's just an example. And on take damage, he just drops all of his items. Again, drop items is a filter, so you could just filter to drop specific items, but we just drop everything and we set him to be invisible. Now on the player side, when we bumped into an entity, we automatic deal damage, and we send a dictionary with all the different values we want to send. So here is only a test with a 10 in it, but the key here is that we separate the logic for attack and the logic for defense. So here we would normally calculate how much damage we would deal, so what kind of item we have and this kind of thing. But I do this for the next video. I don't want to make things too complicated. And then on the when on the take damage event on the recipient, we calculate how much damage he actually takes. And in case of the orc, we just give up instantly. We also block events for 10 seconds for bumped into entity. Otherwise, if every time we bump into him, we would attack him, which would mean, which is not realistic. So we have like a timeout for 10 seconds until we can attack again. Okay, another thing is bumped into item, we take the item. And that only works because the golden key is not static. We cannot take the door and the sign or the gate because these are static items, you cannot take them. And now we can actually go into the room and take the elements. Okay, I stopped the game, so I have to do it again. Kill the orc and take the item, and we go back to gate. Now the gate opens. So we take the sword and we take the money. And here you see we don't actually take the bag, we take the monetary value of the bag, which is 5 gold. It's displayed here and displayed here. And when we go to the data item of the item to the bag, you see that the worth of the item is 5 gold. It's expressed in the base currency, 5 gold. And monetary value is 2. That means the bag item is not an item in itself. It just represents 5 gold. So we don't pick up the item, we pick up the gold. In contrast to the sword, which has no monetary item, which is worth 2 gold, but it is not purely monetary item. I hoped you liked this quick overview of the Hideout 2D example. I try to explain everything as quick and easy as possible. On the website, you have much more information about all the different events, the scripting, the data tools, and so please reference the website eldiron.com. If you would like to support my work, please like and subscribe to the channel. It helps me a lot. And please consider becoming a member of my Patreon. Thank you, and we will see you again in 2 weeks with another release, new features, and another video. Hi, this is Marcus. I am working on Eldiron. Eldiron is a creator for classical RPGs of the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. It aims to be able to create games in the spirit of Ultima, Dungeon Master, Elder Scrolls Arena. If you like these games as much as I did and do, please consider joining my Patreon to support my work on Eldiron. Thank you.